Okay, so I have a friend. Well, had a friend. Not because we had a falling out, because his entire sense of reality got obliterated. And now he just stares at walls, muttering about the algorithm like a conspiracy theorist. His crime? He believed in job security. And honestly, he had reasons to believe in it. He wasn't delusional. Well, not completely. So what happened? Stick around, because this is actually wild, and more importantly, it could be your story too. Let me set the scene. His name is Dave. Dave got hired at this marketing company in 2015. It was fine. Normal job, normal salary, you know what I mean. But then something magical happened. Dave didn't get fired. Year after year, he didn't get fired. 2 promotions, a raise, a team reporting to him. By 2022, Dave was sitting pretty. He had what we call job security. And he knew he had it because he did everything right. He showed up, he didn't complain in the group chat, he had the respect of his boss, management loved him, he'd been there 7 years. 7! In corporate years, that's basically retirement. Dave would literally say, and I quote, "I could probably coast here until I'm 65. Those were his exact words. I was there. I cringed. In retrospect, that cringe was his job security god testing us. Here's the thing, though. Dave wasn't stupid. He thought he understood how the world worked, and in a way he did. He understood that if you're good at your job, you don't get fired. That's technically true. It's just not the whole truth. It's like knowing that if you turn a steering wheel left, the car goes left, but not knowing that a meteor could hit you at any moment. So Dave's merrily sailing along, living the dream, planning a kitchen renovation because what else do people in stable jobs do? And then his company's revenue starts doing this weird thing. It doesn't go down exactly, it just plateaus. And there are some missed quarterly targets. Nothing catastrophic, just boring business stuff that Dave barely pays attention to because it's not his department, right? Famous last thoughts. So it's spring 2023, and suddenly there's a company-wide meeting. Those are never good. Nothing good ever started with, "We need everyone in the conference room." The CEO comes out, and she's got that voice. You know the one. The voice of someone who's about to tell you something that was decided in a room you weren't in by people thinking about numbers, not people. "We're initiating a strategic restructuring. We're going to be leaner, more efficient, more agile." Translation, we spent too much money paying people to do things, and now we need to spend less money. And here's where Dave's brain breaks a little, because he immediately thinks, okay, but I'm safe, I'm valuable, I lead a team, we're profitable. He's doing the math in his head like he's solving for X. But here's what he didn't account for. In corporate restructuring, your individual value doesn't matter nearly as much as your salary. See, Dave made 6 figures, great pay, excellent job security indicator. Except, and here's the thing they don't tell you in career advice columns, from the company's perspective, Dave is a line item, a cost center. If they cut Dave, they save $120K. If Dave produces $150K in value, nice. But they could also cut Dave and have 3 Davids for the price of 1 Dave. Or plot twist, they could cut Dave and just have the remaining team work extra hard for the same pay because everyone's scared. So the restructuring happens. It's violent and quick. Some people get the golden parachute. Most people just disappear, like they were never there. Dave makes it through the first round. Relief. He survived. He's in the inner circle, the chosen ones. He was not the chosen one. Round 2 comes 3 weeks later. Dave's boss pulls him into a meeting, the tone is somber, there's probably Zoom involved, and his boss, who Dave actually likes, tells him, "This isn't about your performance, you're genuinely valuable, but we're consolidating your function, we're moving it to the Austin office. You have 2 options, relocate or. The or is always the scary part. Dave didn't want to move to Austin. Austin is nice, but Dave's life was here. His girlfriend was here. His kitchen renovation was 40% complete. And also, plot twist, the Austin office doesn't actually want to do his job. They want to hire 3 junior people for the same cost. It's called leveraging emerging markets, or something businessy that makes it sound smart. Dave got laid off after 7 years of job security. And here's where it gets interesting, not in a funny way, in a frustrating way, because Dave starts researching and he realizes he's not alone. He's part of this massive wave of people getting kicked out, and they all thought the same thing he did. See, job security is basically an illusion, not because your boss is evil or because you did something wrong, but because of how modern business actually works.
Let me explain why companies will fire you even if you're amazing. Reason 1. Your salary becomes uncompetitive. In 2015, hiring someone for 6 figures made sense. In 2023, AI tools, outsourcing, and remote work mean that same job can get done for half the price. You become an increasingly expensive legacy cost. You didn't change, the world did. Reason 2. Strategy shift. Your company decides it's pivoting. Maybe they're moving industries. Maybe the market changed. It doesn't matter how good you are at your current job if your current job is becoming irrelevant. That's not a performance issue. That's a business problem you can't solve by being excellent. Reason 3. Mergers and restructuring. Companies buy other companies. Duplicate roles get eliminated. Some departments get axed entirely. You could be the best at what you do, and there just won't be a what you do anymore. It happens to people at Goldman Sachs. It happened to Dave. It'll probably happen to you. Reason 4. Cost-cutting goals. This is the brutal one. Sometimes the company isn't doing poorly. They're just trying to become more profitable. They'll cut 15% of the workforce to boost the stock price. That's your job. That's not incompetence, that's deliberate. You're a line item in a spreadsheet, and your line item got deleted because it looked good in a quarterly report. Reason 5. Automation. This is the 21st century killer. That thing you spent 15 years getting really good at? A software company just built an AI version, and it costs $50 a month. Your 7 years of job security just got murdered by capitalism. And here's what really messed with Dave. He did everything right. He was conscientious, he built relationships, he was competent, he didn't slack. None of that mattered, because those things don't actually create job security. They just make you feel like they do. Real security? That comes from something completely different. Here's what nobody tells you. Job security is a mirage that companies created because they needed you to believe in it so you'd work hard and show up on time. But in reality, you don't have job security. You have job probability, and it can shift overnight based on factors completely beyond your control. So, what do you actually have control over? 3 things. 1. Your skills are your actual security. Not your job, not your company, your skills, the things you can take with you. Because if your company decides you're expensive, at least you can walk into another company that values those skills. Dave eventually found a better job, but it took 3 months and was at a 15% pay cut because he'd been out of the market. If he'd been building skills the whole time instead of coasting on the assumption of permanence, he wouldn't have taken that hit. 2. Your network is invisible insurance. Dave had LinkedIn connections, sure, but he hadn't maintained relationships. When he got laid off, he found out how many people he'd worked with actually remembered him or cared. Not many. If he'd been building real relationships, not just adding people on LinkedIn, but actual ongoing connections with people who respected him, his job search would have been different. People help people they actually like. Shocking, I know. 3. Your financial buffer is your actual safety net. This is the big one. Dave had about 3 weeks of savings. 3 weeks. He was making 6 figures and had nothing because he spent what he made. If he'd saved even 6 to 12 months of expenses, he wouldn't have been panicking about paying rent. The belief in job security made him reckless with money. He thought there would always be more coming. That's the actual tragedy of the job security illusion. It makes people financially vulnerable because they feel secure. You know who has actual security? People with savings, people with marketable skills, people with options, not people with tenure. That's not cynical. That's just how the world works now. So Dave is doing okay now. He's at a different company, smaller salary, but weirdly he's happier because he's not pretending. He knows his job could end tomorrow, so he keeps his resume updated constantly, spends an hour every week learning something new, actually talks to people in his industry, saves aggressively, doesn't plan his kitchen renovation as if it's guaranteed. The irony, by accepting that job security is an illusion, he actually became more secure. Because real security doesn't come from a paycheck that feels permanent. It comes from being equipped to survive when it isn't. Here's my take. Stop waiting for your company to give you security. They can't. Stop hoping you're safe because you're good at your job. You might be fired for reasons that have nothing to do with performance. Instead, ask yourself, do I have the skills to get another job if this one disappears? Do I have enough saved to survive? Do I have people who would actually help me? Am I improving or coasting? If the answer to any of those is no, then you're not secure. You just feel secure, which is actually the most dangerous position of all, because when the floor drops out, at least you'll have seen it coming. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story about Dave's corporate trauma, subscribe, because we're going to talk about a lot more ways your financial reality is probably different from what you think it is. Stay curious, stay safe, and maybe start that emergency fund today.